So Geeking Cool.
Hey, I'm Frank,
And I'm Derrick.
and welcome to the first episode of So Geeking Cool. Derrick, you want to tell everybody what the channel is going to be about?
Oh, well, this is going to be a channel introducing me to a new world of cosplay, Marvel and DC movies, and a little bit about myself. Growing up, I did not watch any movies superhero related, and Frank has been kind of assisting me with this journey. And so the channel or this show was brought about to actually, for you guys to actually come along with us on this journey as he introduces me into a new world of cosplay and Marvel and DC movies.
Yeah, don't forget Star Trek and Star Wars and just a whole lot of geek culture that he's going to have to absorb in a really short amount of time.
Correct.
I myself started out as a cosplayer in about 2015. I became a more serious cosplayer in about 2017, and I've got quite the cast of characters now. Derrick always loves to say that I embody just a little piece of each of the characters that I
Correct.
cosplay. When Derrick and I first started hanging out, I was shocked because I'd never met anyone who had not seen Star Wars. We have remedied that. He now is familiar with a galaxy far, far away, and as he says, we're going to go on this journey, and much like what Obi-Wan said to Luke, you have taken your first step into a much larger world.
And that is absolutely correct. You gave me a movie crunch list of Captain America, and followed by that, I was actually introduced into Star Wars. And just growing up, I knew who Batman and Superman was, but never watched Star Trek, Star Wars, or any of the Marvel DC movies.
Yeah, and I would say that the list I gave you is kind of like the list that Sam Wilson gave Steve Rogers to help him catch up, remember?
Wow. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So that makes it just that more special. But again, I would like for you guys, the viewers, to actually follow along as I journey into this new world.
Right, and if you guys have questions or comments, be sure to put them in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if we're doing things that you like. If you want to see more of something, make sure you put that in the comments. I promise you right now we're going to be really diligent on reading all of the comments and trying to reply, and you can help us to make the channel better and make it more of what you would like to see just by giving us a little bit of feedback. Derrick actually went to his very first con back in June of this year. It was the Mississippi Comic Con.
Correct.
This past year, 2021.
Correct.
And it was in Jackson, Mississippi. And just give us a little bit about your experience. What did you expect? Did the experience meet the expectation? What do you think?
Well, initially, before the invite, I didn't know what to expect. And so I kind of just walked into it blind. But as I purchased a ticket online to the Mississippi Con that was held in Jackson, and drove up that morning, again, didn't know what to expect. But when I got there, it was like, wow, I never knew this existed. There were so many people, and needless to say, I was dressed as a civilian.
Right.
So as I approached, there was a long line of people standing to get inside, and it actually was the line before the line. So after about standing in the line for maybe 30, 45 minutes, I decided let me just walk around to see what's going on, and I walked around, and luckily they had a line that was not so long for you to come in if you had bags, because you were not allowed to bring any outside items inside. So
Wait, now, did you have a bag?
I did not have a bag, but one of the officers was nice enough to say, because it was still a line, it was just not a long line, because they took snacks and things like that. And he said, hey, if you would like some water or some snacks, you just have to, drink or eat before you get inside. And so I was excited. I said, well, I beat that long line. But when I got inside, there was another line. And it was like, wow, another line. But again, I was amazed at how many people were actually there. Because again, I never knew this world existed, but there were tons of people in costume. But yeah, I mean, I just never knew that it existed, and I appreciate the invite for actually inviting and opening my eyes to something different.
Yeah, I think at that particular convention, I took my family and we met up with Derrick and kind of walked around and got to introduce him to different types of cosplay, different types of gaming options that you typically see at cons. Of course, you always see comic books, which is kind of where it all started, right? And I can only imagine. I was a little bit jealous, actually, for you to experience that for your first time, because I've grown up in it, so it's kind of always been there for me. I think I went to my first convention. I was not a cosplayer, but I went to my first convention in 1997.
Oh, wow.
Which I was 17 years old. I know I'm old, but I actually went to CoastCon on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and that was a big experience for me, actually. In the future, I'll tell you a story about that convention, and when we talk about cosplay etiquette. But it made a lasting impression on me, I'll put it that way. But as a 17-year-old kid, growing up, you had toys and things like that for different shows and different movies, but you never had a place, at least not in South Mississippi that I was aware of. You had hobby shops where you could buy model kits or you could buy certain things, but you didn't have a place with a lot of vendors that catered specifically to the things that we were into. And to go to a convention and it's all there. I mean, I grew up with my best friends playing Dungeons and Dragons, and to go to a place that had just unlimited combinations of dice and figurines and books and just anything you could think of, adventures, they were there to find other people who shared those interests, to widen our own view. That was a big thing to us, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. After that, I kind of fell out of the con scene for a little while and got back into it years later. And it all started because my very first quote-unquote cosplay was actually an Indiana Jones costume that my mom helped me put together. And, as moms do, they tried to help out. And my mom was actually really crafty. She could sew. She could do all kind of cool stuff. And we went to JCPenney's and we found a brown fedora. And she bought me a brown leather jacket.
Okay.
I think it came from Wilson's.
Okay.
And I had a little satchel. I had a pair of khakis, and I had a white shirt.
Did he have a whip as well? Or?
Yeah, I had a little. I think I had like a little 6-foot bull whip that we got from Actually, it came from a friend of mine named Brian. He gifted it to me because I started out with an electrical cord. I didn't even have a real whip. And Brian, who's a really cool guy, he actually was our DM when we played Dungeons and Dragons. He actually had a bullwhip because he lived in Texas, and I'm not exactly sure how he got the bullwhip, but it was really cool of him to gift that to me. And that was my very first real costume. I think my second costume was actually a Captain Kirk costume. One of my best friends, Kevin, actually invited me to a Star Trek club that they used to have when I was a kid, and they had a costume party one time, and my mom found a yellow shirt, and she put the rank braid on it, and she actually sewed the Delta symbol, the command Delta symbol.
Okay.
And man, I thought that was the coolest thing. I think I was probably 14 or 15 at the time, and I actually thought I was Captain Kirk.
Now let me ask you this, and again for me, like I said, this is a very new world. Now, were these costumes you did for Halloween or just?
Indy started out as a Halloween thing, but then growing up, I grew up out in the country, and a lot of my friends who even weren't into D&D and other stuff. I had a good friend who lived across the street named Ricky and his brother Jason. We would go out into the woods and we would pretend like we were remaking movies. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was Rambo or Indiana Jones or you name it, the Goonies. That was a huge thing. We always played, like we were part of the Goonies. We were always looking for some kind of lost treasure. And that kind of helped shape what I would do in the future when it came to cosplay. But I can remember growing up in those years, it was such a great time because we had Indiana Jones, we had Back to the Future, we had Ghostbusters, we had the Goonies. But I can remember as a kid, my favorite superhero movie was Superman 2. It had Christopher Reeves in it. And I always thought Christopher Reeves looked like he stepped out of a comic book, right? And even though I'm not that big of a Superman fan now, at the time when I was a kid, man, Superman was my favorite because of Christopher Reeves. And then fast forward to 1989 when the Batman movie came out with Michael Keaton starring Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And that movie completely blew me away. I mean, I loved it. And, not to mention the Star Trek movies as I was growing up. I grew up with Star Wars. I mean, these were the things that filled our Saturday and Sunday afternoons, right? Sunday after church, we'd come home and watch movies. I can't count how many times I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark or Empire Strikes Back. So for you to have just now seen A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, you have a totally different viewpoint because you saw it as an adult.
Correct. I don't want to say I missed out because I've had a chance to see the movies. I wish, or I would say that my son, I will ensure that he sees those movies because those movies teach you a lot, morals and there's meaning and it just builds you. I think every child should watch those films because there's a message and meaning in those movies to help build character and what to stand on and good morals and things of that nature. So I don't want to say that I've missed out, but it's definitely something I'm glad you introduced me to. Hate, I had to wait this long to see it, but it's definitely something that I will ensure that my son gets a chance to view those films.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, in my opinion at least, that's something that brings people together. Movies and music are things that we can all share and relate to, and they help craft our experiences. One of my closest friends, never met him in person, but I think of him like a brother. His name is Ben.
Okay.
And when I was first doing my Indiana Jones cosplay, I really went on a deep dive because, I thought my costume looked awesome until one day I realized, wait a second, I look like I'm in Indiana Jones's pajamas. That's always my joke when I say, I look at the costume and I go, I got to upgrade this. So I went on this really deep dive, and back then we didn't have Facebook groups the way we do now. So I think I met him on a forum.
Okay.
We used to have forums where we would go and find out information. And there were wonderful people who had these wonderful screenshots and these high resolution images to help. And they had a list of the people who actually worked on the film and who actually made things for the film. And Ben and I started talking, and we realized we had so much in common. And he helped me with Indiana Jones. We've talked Star Trek. We've talked Wolverine. I mean, he's been just a great friend. And more than that, we talk about way more than costuming. And he's a great guy. And I think that's the thing about these kinds of connections.
It brings you together. And again, like I said, I'm actually just taking a dive into it, but it's special to actually try and embody the character that you cosplay.
Right. Yeah, and you've seen me at that convention, and I mean, how just in the time that we were together, how many people did we run into that I knew? And you create these communities, and you meet so many wonderful people.
Did you ask me to cosplay? Anyway, you just introduced me.
Yeah, I just introduced you, and I think you got the bug really quickly.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like I was the only one I was the only one in civilian clothes.
Well, yeah.
And we took a picture together, and everyone was cosplaying a character, and I'm just sitting here with a hat on and shirt. And
I mean, you're cosplaying a first-time convention goer, right?
Correct. But it was definitely special, though. I enjoy the moment, and I look forward to many more. Now, I definitely look forward to picking a character to embody.
Well, that brings us to our next point. Pensacon is the next convention that I'll be attending. It's February 18th through the 20th.
20th, correct.
And this will be your second convention.
Second convention.
First time to go all 3 days.
Yeah.
And first time to go
as
Lando Calrissian. That's right.
Correct.
Mr. Smooth. So I'll be wearing my Han Solo on the day that you do Lando.
Correct.
And my wife's going to go as Princess Leia from Empire Strikes Back. So I think it'll be quite the experience.
That's gonna be cool because you and I have a relationship that's so similar to Hans and Lando. So it's gonna be special, and just to have you alongside to walk with me through the journey, because I definitely don't want to look, again, this is my first time dressing, so I don't want to look out of place. Again, when I went to the Mississippi Con, it was so much. It was, and I was somewhat not overwhelmed, but just didn't know what to expect. And when I get there, I'm like, wow. But this time, I'm gonna cosplay a character, and you've decided, or just to walk with me through that journey. You say, hey, I'm a cosplay, Han, and I think that's special.
Yeah, definitely. Now you have another character that you've decided that you want to cosplay in the future. Do you want to reveal that now, or do you want to? I mean, you kind of.
Yeah, kind of let the cat out of the bag. But yes, definitely. And if you notice, some of the the two characters thus far for me kind of go hand in hand with you. Well, go hand in hand with you. And so these are movies that you introduced me to, and characters that I immediately took and gravitated to.
Right. I have been cosplaying Captain America since 2019. I think was the first time I cosplayed as Cap, and for a long time I actually would not even consider doing Captain America because I was under the impression that I needed to be, blonde hair, blue eyed with, 240 pounds worth of muscle to look like Captain America. And that's something that we'll definitely be talking about in the future. But I encourage anybody, if you have a passion for a character, to cosplay that character.
Try it. Yeah, no matter what, just go for it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Step outside your comfort zone because that's really what you're doing, right?
Right. This is definitely out of the norm for me. But I've always said that anytime that you're uncomfortable doing something, it's room for growth. You're actually growing.
Right. I'm uncomfortable a lot, but that's just because I'm, 6'3" and, long legs and gangly arms. And anyway,
You've grown.
Right. I've grown. I hope that's not the only growth I can have. I think at this point is width wise. And if you keep bringing donuts before these podcasts, then that's exactly what's going to happen.
Were we going to do a fast or before Pensacola? I have to ensure that I'm able to pull off the Lando.
I think I'm going to have to do a fast before and a fast after because we eat when we're there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
wow,
that's kind of the routine. You go to the con, you walk around all day, you build up an appetite, and then you go and you binge.
And I think that's you introduced me to Pensacola and a few restaurants that you enjoy, and so this is the first time. Any chance I get to go to Pensacola, I always try to take you up on the chance. But yeah, that's gonna make it this much sweeter. To actually cosplay and go to some of the favorite restaurants.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. And you guys, if you guys are going to be at Pensacon, look for us. So Geeking Cool will be there. It'll be me and Derrick, and we'll be around at the convention. Come up, say hello, take a picture with us. Let us take a picture with you, obviously.
All right.
And if, like I said, if you get the opportunity, stop by, see a couple of our friends, Southern Geek Fest, which is a local Southern Geek community, and they'll have a table set up. They're great people. Stop by, say hello, and
just enjoy the experience. Just take it all in. But we'll be there getting pictures and trying to maybe interview some cosplayers. So yeah, it'd be great.
Yep. See you then. Next episode.
Okay.
So Geeking Cool.